Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the origins of religion, a topic that you guys know is near and dear and passionate to my heart. So, merely state facts. And I'm hoping, that these facts that I'm stating are going to help awaken some people and make them want to ask more questions. That's the purpose of this whole thing. I want people that have been born into a system that is designed to mentally enslave them to start to look for the keys to the doggone cell because they can let themselves out. And what's happened is when you're born into a religion, you kind of get this I get this concept or this ideal that this is what you have to do. And if you don't do it, you're going to be letting down family members, you're going to be letting down loved ones and so forth. And you're not going to be able to be a part of anything. It's actually all false. You can still be a part of things. You can still, create a new reality for your loved ones. You can still be a part of things. It's just that what's happened is when you're born, you're given that name, that race, and that religion, and then you spend the rest of your life really, defending a false identity. And so we have to start to dispel some of these crazy concepts, because if we don't dispel these falsehoods, we're going to persist generation after generation after generation after generation with this mental enslavement, with no real truth, no real information backed by actual historical fact that has been left behind by our own ancestors. This is not like stuff that I make up. And I think that's the difference between me and a lot of other people. I'm always giving you guys the information and I'm telling you where it comes from so that you can become your own researcher. You can discern the information for yourself and you can make your own decision what you believe. That's what it's all about. We're going to break down some of the very beginning structures of religion and, pretty much how it got started. All right. So we're going to get right into it, guys. The origins of religion. All right. You got your tea? What you're looking at here is a Melanesian cargo cult. Cargo cults are known literally all over the planet. And the largest cargo cult is Christianity. That is the largest cargo cult. Okay. This cargo cult has its roots going back all the way into the time of the testing of bombs and in the wars, when the U.S. military will go to these islands and in these other foreign countries, and they would test weapons, they would test nukes, believe it or not. Bikini Atoll, they blew up the damn island. They moved the people off their own island and blew up the damn island. I mean, there's so much stuff we do that's crazy. But in the midst of this, in the midst of these islanders had never seen anyone before other than themselves, really. They started to see airplanes, weaponry, military soldiers walking with guns and rifles. They started to see, the USA, across the chest of the uniforms that the military wore. And also the military would give them cans of corned beef hash, bottles of water, MREs, and those kind of things. And so it was like the gods, in their eyes, the gods were blessing the tribe and bringing them these gifts for them being good people and so forth and so on, which led rise to prophets and everything else, right? You can see here that this tribe is still walking around with USA tattooed on their chest or painted on their chest, really, with these artificial guns that are just sticks that have, bayonets on the edges like they used to see when the military came there many decades ago. Okay. So what happens when an advanced civilization meets a less advanced civilization, the lesser advanced civilization, it looks like this civilization is magical. They don't understand technology. And what do? We deify them instantaneously. They're deified. That's it. They're gods. They have to be gods. There's nothing else. There's no other thing it could be. These are gods because we don't understand their technology. Let's look at cargo cult. Let's look at the term itself. The reason why I'm reading this and I add this stuff in is so that you guys don't say, "Oh man, he's just making this stuff up." No. This is from the Anthropology Encyclopedia. Cargo cult. The term appeared in 1945 at the end of the Pacific War. Anthropologists rapidly embraced the neologism to label Melanesian social movements that had come to their attention during the colonial era, which began in the region in the second half of the 19th century, as well as post-war movements that captured ethnographic attention. A Southwest Pacific example of Messianic or millenarian movements was once common throughout the colonial world, and the modal cargo cult was an agitation or organized social movement of Melanesian villagers in pursuit of cargo by means of renewed or invented ritual action that they hoped would induce ancestral spirits or other powerful beings to provide. In other words, what they're saying here is once these military soldiers started coming to the island with this cargo, in other words, these cans of these MREs and these cans of corned beef hash and bottles of water and soda and all this other kind of stuff and clothing and things, that's what they call cargo. And they thought that by calling on the ancestors, they can make these gods return and bring them more blessings. Okay. Sound familiar? Does it sound familiar to you? Typically, an inspired prophet with messages from those spirits sound familiar. Sounds like a preacher, right? Here goes the preacher man getting ready to do his thing. Inspired prophet with messages from those spirits persuaded a community that social harmony and engagement in improvised ritual, dancing, marching, and flag raising, or revived cultural traditions would, for its believers, bring them cargo. Okay? So what they're saying is this guy would then become the leader of the cult. He would become like the prophet, right? He's the pastor, the preacher, whatever you want to call it. And he is leading the dancing, the ritualistic dancing, the marching, raising of flags, and so forth and so on, basically in honor of these gods, so that they would bring back more cargo to bless the tribe. Okay? That was the whole thing behind this. This has happened so many times around this planet, you can't even count. I mean, I'm talking going even all the way back to Rome, when Rome encountered, back in the Roman era, when they were a super kingdom on the planet. And their technology to us right now would be damn near Stone Age, but to the people of the era, they were super high tech. So even when they encountered people with their level of technology, they looked like gods. It's the same thing that happened when Christopher Columbus accidentally got lost and kind of stumbled across those islands and got saved by Native Americans, indigenous people. I don't want to use Native Americans, by indigenous tribes, and then decided, the tribes automatically assumed, based on a prophecy, that these were gods, returning, basically. And they praised these people and brought them on to the island and everything else, and they ended up getting raped and killed, right? It's the same thing that happens all over the planet. It not only happens all over the planet, I think it happens throughout maybe even the entire universe. That's my personal opinion. That's something I'm just adding in. I believe if we ourselves went to another planet and we came across people that were in the Stone Age, they would worship us almost instantly. That's just my opinion based on what I've seen researching these cargo cults. Okay. So this is pretty interesting stuff. Look at these photos right here. You see these boys? They're already being trained now. They're being indoctrinated with the ideology of this belief system from birth. So now they're walking around with painted chests that say USA on them. They've got these artificial guns with bayonets at the tip, right? They're marching through the streets as if they're soldiers in honor of their god, so that they can bring back more cargo. Again, like I said, the way religion starts is a more advanced civilization interacts with a lesser advanced civilization. The lesser advanced civilization deifies them, and then when the next generation comes, they're indoctrinated. They're indoctrinated into this system, and personal inflections are added to the myth. lies, fabrications, things that can put people in positions of power over other people are added in as well. And then gradually, little by little, you have this self-made prison being built where the people that are in the religion are the prisoners and they're also the prison guards at the same time, which is pretty interesting. You can see down here in the lower left corner that these people actually even replicated one of the planes that they saw the military landing in with the propeller and everything. You can see this flag that they made, right? They're very, very astute people. I mean, these are intelligent people. But again, the thing that eluded them was technology. They didn't understand it. And so because they didn't understand it, it became deified. And because they're very artistic, they were able to replicate all of this in this fashion. And this is one of many cargo cults that existed around the planet. Look at this. Check this out. Look at these planes. These are an on. Look at this satellite dish. Look at the intricate level that they went to build this communications device that's really just made of straw and tree limbs and grass probably or whatever. Look at the intricate design here to work. Look how hard they worked to build this thing. And so what they would do is they would go out and pray underneath these objects that they built and look up at the sky for hours, hoping for the gods to return. Anthropology or cultivated a number of important keywords, including culture, ethnicity, worldview, socialization, ethnography, and the rite of passage. Among these terms is cargo cult, which, although more particular in scope, has enjoyed surprising popularity both inside the discipline and beyond. Peter Worsley, who compiled an early overview of cargo cults in The Trumpet Shall Sound, which is a book, offered what had already become the standard definition of cargo cults. Strange religious movements in the South Pacific during the last few decades. In these movements, a prophet announces the imminence of the end of the world in a cataclysm which will destroy everything. Now, this is coming out. This is what this author, Peter Worsley, had observed. Okay, listen to this. Tell me if this sounds familiar. Tell me if this story sounds similar. These are people who never heard of the Bible. Strange religious movements in the South Pacific appeared during the last few decades. In these movements, a prophet announces the imminence of the end of the world in a cataclysm which will destroy everything. Then the ancestors will return. Does this sound familiar to you guys? I'm just asking. Does this sound familiar? People who never heard of Jesus and the Bible and none of this stuff. Then the ancestors will return, or God, or some other liberating power will appear, bringing all the goods the people desire and ushering in a reign of eternal bliss. Won't he do it? Hallelujah. You see? This was written in the 1950s, this book. This is an observation by an anthropologist who traveled to all these cults.